People that I work with are so focused on serving others that they deprive themselves. Before you can give generously, you need to make sure that you are cared for first. That goes back to that safety for yourself and the body as well.
All right, welcome to Living Boldly with Purpose. I'm Dr. B. I'm your host today, and just as usual, I get so excited that I get the opportunity to just have some incredible, amazing hosts that I get to just conversate with, and I get to have fun with, and I get to talk with. And Katherine will be on with us, today. Lazaruk. She's helping me say her last name when we were, I guess we call it the green room before we, the title of when we just get to have a conversation. Asked her about what she's excited about. She has so much going on. And one of the things that is unique when at least with this show, because when the folks decide, when we ask them to come on and they decide that they're going to come on, they realize that part of the title is Living Boldly with Purpose. And when we talk about purpose, it's very rare that, Katherine, that I find somebody who isn't serving others in some way that has that ability to live in purpose. And so I think that's just part of what purpose is. It's part of what purpose requires. It requires that you give of yourself, and it's not just always about you. And I think that's what makes it so fun, is because when you have a world, or, what is my bubble of my world, because the people I get to talk to all the time are always serving others, which just makes the relationships and the people I get to talk to and the people that I'm around even more exciting and even more fun, because they're all working on making people's lives better. And I think when we do that, a lot of the things that I try to do is, help people become the person they need to be in order to go do what they were put on this earth to do. And when we get to do that, when we're not just doing what others have told us to do, or doing what my parents decided that was for me, or doing, and then getting stuck doing, oh man, I can, just some of the jobs that I had, this because I had to, because I needed money. I'm like, people do this for years and years and years. And I last about, there's one when I was a teacher. And back, I don't know, I think today they pay you for 12 months, but back in the 1990s, when I started out as a PE teacher at my first public school, we only got paid for 10 months. And then trying to budget with the new family. And I think my first teaching job, I made like $17,000 a year. And then my next one, I moved up to 28, and that was like the best ever. But life cost more than $28,000 a year. And so I had to do summer school. And then summer school started, and that was the plan, that we were doing summer school. And then whatever budget cuts took some of the summer school away. And so instead of having 2 sessions of summer school, we had 1. So me and the other football coach, we said, we're going to answer this ad, and we're going to go out, and we're going to, just work at this plant or something. And it said some kind of like management warehouse job is what the ad said. Because back then we had classifieds and we were reading things in the paper. It didn't really tell you everything. It wasn't like you have now where the internet can kind of tell you the whole job. So we show up to the site, and it's a recycling plant. And they want us to, and the trucks are dumping garbage like into this lot, and then they're wanting us to go through and pick out with these picker things the I guess the recyclable things from restaurants and stuff that sell food and stuff on them. I remember that we lasted about an hour, and then we're like, we're out. We both just said we'll just struggle at our houses.
Forget it.
So we're not going to do that. And so, but there have been people that have been there for a year, 2 years, 3 years. And I can't imagine. I mean, I guess somebody has to, or, I don't think they had a very good system at that point on recycling. I think that was like the beginning of recycling. Not a lot of thought went into what they were expecting, because they didn't give us gloves. They didn't give it. I mean, it was just, So, and I think about that every time I either complain or think about not being able to live in my purpose, or not being able to, do some of this stuff, and, call myself a victim or anything like that. then I think back to there and I'm going, oh no, so many more folks have it way worse than I do. So with all that said, and I don't know why that came in, I can't wait to hear your story. Katherine, thank you for being on today. Thank you for doing what you do and how you serve others. And then we'll hear your story, and then we'll chop it up with a whole bunch of more conversation and follow up. So the floor is yours. And again, can't wait to hear it. So
thank you. It's interesting, just before I jump into that, it's interesting when you talk about living on purpose and how I'm thinking of a time when I actually was doing a job in between jobs as well. And I was working at Starbucks. I think I worked at Starbucks for 6 days before I got a corporate training job. But the idea that purpose only exists in jobs that are big or fancy or not sorting garbage or not pouring coffee is incorrect.
Yes.
I think that everywhere you go, if you are present to the moment, that is your purpose. Whatever you're doing in this moment is your purpose. And when you sink into that, then the next right step will evolve. Even if you have this idea that, there's got to be something out there that's next, pay attention to what is.
What is? Oh, I agree.
Sink into it, enjoy it, and then move on. And I think that was not a lesson that I learned early in my years. Like when I left school, it's funny that you said teaching, because I did that as well. So I taught in the public school system. I taught music, and I was singing in the opera in my first 2 careers. Yeah. So I sang in Vancouver and Vienna and San Francisco and other places in the world. Wow. And the further along I got in both of those careers, the less I liked them, because both of those careers have quite narrow parameters. Yeah. And I'm not a very good small box person, but I didn't really, I kind of knew that, but I didn't really know that. So it took me 12 years and a lung tumor to figure out that those jobs were not for me. Even though I loved to sing, even though I really loved teaching, I did not like the systems in which I was working for both of those things. And they were suffocating me. So my husband said to me, these jobs are killing you, you got to leave. And so once I got the diagnosis, I went on medical leave, and then I quit. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I knew I could not continue doing what I was doing. And so I got a coach and started working on my health. And 6 months later, the tumor was gone, and I had a job doing corporate training at PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Wow. So the coach was very helpful in whatever they were talking about in the training. And I kind of love the way you said that, because as I went back and to rethink, a lot of it is just purposeful training too. I mean, you have to go through whatever you're going through to get where you're going, right? And sometimes the things that you do before shape what you need to do now, because it really tells you. You have this mind, okay, this is what, and especially there's so many people who tell us, this is what we want you to do. But I got to kind of find out who I am before I can figure out what I'm going to do, right?
100%. And I think if you are really open, like for me, my mind is open. So I get influenced by other people's ideas, less so now. But early on, before I really knew that about myself, that my open mind was a great gift, but it could also be a great hindrance, because I could get pulled off track by what seemed to make sense for other people. And so it's interesting, when I was working with that coach, he was actually a sales coach, because I was doing some other work in between. Okay. And I didn't think about sales. But the question that he asked me was, what do you want to be when you grow up, little lady?
Gosh. Oh, God.
Now I'd be like, you're fired. Don't speak to me. But at the time, and prior to that work, I had done some work around the qualities I wanted my work to have. So I had this kind of, I'd put it out to the universe. When he said that, I literally had this crazy vision where my first company name and the first tagline I ever used just dropped right in. And it was image consulting. And I was like, what? That's not even a real job. Like, who does that job? And he said, no, that's a real job. You could do that job. And because there is no regulation in that industry at all, like you could hang your shingle out tomorrow and say I'm an image consultant and nobody would blink. I was like, okay, well, I look all right. I've read some books. I guess I'll get a business card and a website and start practicing. So that's what I did. And I built up my business around the time that I was doing my corporate job. And also now I don't recommend that approach to anybody. I'm like, please get some training if you're going to go into image consulting, because it is a very sensitive area in which to work. Like if you're in somebody's underwear drawer, you better know what you're doing. Like you better be very clear, be very careful of your judgments, be very sensitive to who they are as people. So I strongly encourage anyone who's thinking about that career to get some training. But I didn't know any better. And so I built up my business, and then I got divinely ejected from my corporate job right in the middle of the recession in 2009. And I thought, okay, I guess I'm going to go do this business full time now. And my husband's funny. He told me a couple of years ago, he's like, when you said you were going to start an image consulting business in the recession, I thought you were crazy, but I didn't say anything. I'm like, good husband, well done. And he's like, I'm so glad I didn't. But I got into an employment insurance sponsored business program. So we learned how to do, we did entrepreneurial readiness and then had to write a business plan. And then I went, okay, I need to go and get my certifications. So I went to Toronto and got my certifications there in image consulting and advanced image consulting at the International Image Institute, and then interned there. And then the woman who ran the company really liked me, so she made me her Western Canada image trainer. So in addition to my private practice, when I started out, I was also teaching consultants how to be consultants at a college here in Vancouver because of my education background, right? I'd had so much training experience that was an easy transition. And then what happened was, as I started to go up the chain.
Well, before you jump up there, just image consulting, sure. What is it? What is image consulting?
What is it? Oh, yeah. Okay. You know what's so funny? I'm learning this lesson over and over. It's like people don't always know what you know. Like you think that what you know makes, like you're like, I don't know, who doesn't know what that is? But thank you for reminding me about that not everybody knows.
I hear underwear drawer, and then I hear
yeah, you're like, oh my God.
Consulting. I'm like, okay.
You're like, what is that? What even is that? Okay. So image consulting is everything to do with your appearance, your behavior, and your communication.
Okay.
So some people think that image is very superficial. Oh, well, that's something superficial. I don't need to pay attention to that. But I argue that image is surface, but it should never be superficial.
Oh, yeah, no.
It should always be a reflection of who you are on the inside, so that when people know you, when they meet you, they know a little bit about who you are without you even having to say anything. And so that was the work that I started in. And I was really challenged at first by that system as well. It's a common theme for me. Mm-hmm. Challenged by that system because there were so many rules and it was judgmental. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I really want people to be their true selves and I want them to be expressive. And what I found was, even though I really don't like shopping, which makes me a total outlier in that industry, mm-hmm. I do love the effects of having a really clear sense of who you are and the tools of being able to use fashion or use style or use any of those things to actually express who you are and communicate that to the world. It's just another form of communication. So I really like the psychological aspects of that. And I really love the way when someone is aligned and when they're looking as good as they are, everything is so much easier. You just don't have to explain anything about yourself because people just think things about you that are accurate.
Yeah, and I think so much of when I think about communications and I think of the nonverbal, which is being so much more stronger than the words that we use, and in our appearance, and there's so many people that have this, I guess, self-image of who they think other people perceive them as being.
Yes.
And so if you're able to say, no, this is how we want you to project yourself, then you can stop worrying. I'm hoping you can stop worrying a little bit about what other people think of you. I mean, we all do, but maybe it because you feel good about you, then you're not as worried about how do you think others perceive you. When most people aren't thinking about you anyways, they're thinking about themselves. We just think that they're thinking about us and they have opinions and somehow those opinions affect it.
Yeah, we're worried about judgment.
Yeah.
Really. And I think there's a fine line between other awareness, like being aware of other people so that you're not harming anybody, that you're not stepping on any toes, that you're just existing in your space without bleeding or punching your way into somebody else's space. That's a useful thing to be aware of other people for sure. But it's a fine line between that good, healthy awareness and obsession about, oh my God, what are people going to think? What will people think of me if I do this? What will people think of me if I do that? And what that does is I think it really impedes your ability to be present in a conversation or present in a room. It impedes your ability to connect with other people because if you're constantly running around being afraid that they'll judge you, you can't actually connect with them. You can't talk to them. You can't, because you're going to be afraid all the time. And fear stops you from meeting people. So I think if you are if you have a good sense of who you are, you said earlier, like, I hope you can stop worrying about it. And yes, at some point during this process, you start to realize, oh, I am not responsible for other people's reactions.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm going to show up as I am.
Show up.
I'm going to be my loving, kind, generous, big, huge self. And people will love it or they will react strongly to it. And I'm like, okay, I'm here to be helpful. And I'm here to be a helpful disturbance. And so if you're disturbed by the size of me, then that's a really great place to go looking in yourself. What is it about me that disturbs you? Or what is it about me that's making you upset or making you envious or making you super happy or making you, like, if you're super attracted to something, the way someone is, then that only means that you have that in you. And if you really don't like the way someone's showing up, it also means you probably have a little bit of that in you as well. And you have judgment on it.
Yeah. You just got me going down this road of curiosity, like curiosity. But I'm thinking about the internet and I'm thinking about, how that has changed our, consciousness about our awareness about image and what we think we have to be, pretend, I guess, because there's so much of what we see that's on the internet that's so not real.
I know.
And we try to pretend like we're these different avatars or whatever we call them. I mean, were you in this space as the internet has been growing, or?
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's interesting that you say it's encouraging us to pretend, because I've actually seen two sides. Okay. I've seen the side where, for sure, people were fake before. People felt they put on masks before. I mean, in the corporate world, which is where I do a lot of my work, people have been wearing corporate masks, particularly women and marginalized people. Have been putting on these white dude identities to survive. With varying degrees of success. And so people have been masking up forever. It's nothing new. And what I think has been really good about the internet is that there's also, and I think this is where the world is moving, there's a shift towards actually being real. Like, I love seeing videos where an influencer will be like, here's my picture. And then they shift the camera to all of the crap that's piled in the corner so they can get the perfect shot. Or someone has a video of their dog and their house just looks lived in. Or somebody, they're on a Zoom call for a company and their cat shows up or their kid shows up, or, any of those things. And I love the sense of connection and humanity that we get to see in that way. So I actually think the internet is, like anything, right? It's good and bad. It depends on how you use it. But for those people that are using it to connect with people that they might not otherwise get to connect with, that are using it to show that you're human, you're real, you exist in this world, you're connecting just through a digital medium, is great. And for those people that enjoy just looking perfect all the time, good for you. Enjoy. And anyone who is looking at that, like, I think the real concern about it is that it will make people feel bad about themselves. Like, I don't have that, therefore I am bad. And that's a double-sided
comparison, right? We start comparing.
Compare and despair, right? Just compare and despair. It's always
compare and despair. And I jump back into my, teaching high school days and just see what those, the kids do and the things that they put and the things that they're willing to say about another person that they would never go to school and say that in front of them, but they will just blast somebody. And then just that whole, like you said, that whole comparison and despair thing where you say, well, this is not realizing that they're probably showing you their best life. But I love, when people do show, this is the reality. Look around the camera too.
This is what it looks like, because life looks like that.
It does.
And yes, some people have beautifully organized homes and they might have serious control issues. They might not feel safe if everything isn't exactly in the right place and organized at the right time. Right? I think what the world needs is more safety generally. Safety in ourselves first.
I like that.
Safety in ourselves first. And then we can create safety for others and create safety outside ourselves.
I love that.
Right.
All right. So I'll let you back to your story now. You're doing the image, the image consulting and now starting to move up they make you the regional, West Coast,
Yeah.
czar of imaging, and then what happens
All
to
the
you
fancy
then?
titles. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would happen for me is I would be doing this deep identity work with people, and
Mhm.
then doing the shopping and doing the makeup, like doing all the outside pieces as well.
Mhm.
And then those people would get promoted in their companies, and they would say to me, "Hey, can you come and work with our executive teams? Because, but we need you to change your business name because we're tired of explaining to the people that write the checks that you're not really an image consultant. You're doing more than that. You're facilitating really hard conversations. You're helping us think differently. You're synthesizing information for us. You're helping us find clarity on stuff that we couldn't figure out before." And so they said, "We need you to change." And I'm like, "Okay, great. I'll just change my name to Lazaruk Consulting. And now I can do what I like."
Yeah, because it can be anything.
Right?
It's
Can be
like,
anything.
great. You
Yeah,
can
I'm not
never
limited.
have to change that again. As long as you're
Exactly.
helping people, right?
Right. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to put my name on it. Because originally, of course, when I was thinking, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start this business and then I might want to sell it later. And it is harder to sell a brand when your face is on it. But at the same time, it's like, well, what am I here for? Like, I might as well just get on with being myself and being out there in the world. And I'm thinking about something you said earlier when you said, people are serving others. And I think there's a flip side to that too. 'Cause what I see a lot of is the people that I work with are so focused on serving others that they deprive themselves.
Ooh. Yeah, because you can't serve others well if you're not taking care of yourself. You need
Exactly.
martyr syndrome or whatever we want to call it. But
Whatever it is, it's this idea of before you can give generously, you need to make sure that you are cared for first. That goes back to that safety for yourself and the body as well.
oh
But in
gosh.
order to live boldly with your purpose, you better make sure that you're safe and your needs are met and you're regulated and you're taken care of so that then when you're serving from a spirit of true generosity, of true love and true care. You're not doing service because you think you should. You're not doing service because you think you'll be a bad person if you don't do service. You're not internalizing the idea that it's somehow moral to serve others rather than yourself. But in many ways, service is morally neutral, right? You're either
Oh
doing
yeah.
it or not.
Yeah.
And I think with that, it's for me, because I also have a really strong artistic side, and that's how I started out, was in the arts, and how I still incorporate a lot of that into my work. Me personally, I think I'm much more of an artist than I am of a service oriented person.
Mhm.
So my view is like, look, I'm going to be out here living on purpose. I'm going to be out here doing my thing. I'm going to be out here expressing myself. And if you want to get on the bus and you want to do that too, and that resonates with you, okay, I got you. We can do it together. But I don't think about it in the way of, okay, who am I going to help today? Because I never know who I'm
Yeah.
going to help, right? I'm just going to be here,
Of course. Yeah.
and people will show up and people will be helped, but I'm not in control of that.
No,
You know?
that's so good, and I'm loving the fact that you're bringing that up because I take it for granted sometimes. Just like what you were saying, where I was in nonprofit for a while, and I was working in homeless services, and I was doing
Yeah,
and it's such a stressful
right.
place to be in because a lot of the folks that are working there are doing it because they think they're supposed to, or they think that they have this whatever belief that if I don't go do this today, then somehow my life's not going to complete. So they're always searching for this, because they, that's not what to me, that wasn't their purpose. That was just, they kind a lot of them fell into it and they're finding out, well, how can I make money? How can I live? And I do all this thing. And then I'll see a person that my son works for Pixar. And so he loves the artistic side of him, loves drawing, doing all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden I'll see him doing a Zoom with, a classroom of 7-year-olds and teaching them how to draw like Monsters Inc. things. And it's like, he's living because he would do that, whether it was his job all the time or whether he did all the time. He just loves doing it. And so when I think of service, I think of, yes, I would do whatever I'm doing right now for you. I would be doing this no matter what anyways, because
Yeah.
it's what I love to do, and I get to interact and create relationships with people. But I'm not running around looking for people. How can I serve you? How can I serve you? How can I serve you?
No.
It's like I feel like a waitress or a waiter at a restaurant going, this is my job. I gotta serve you today. So what do you need? What do you need? Oh
Yeah.
no.
I think a much more powerful question is, what do I need?
Yes.
What do I need today? I would say probably 85% of my work with clients is getting them into the mentality of what do I need? How do I meet my own needs? That helps them stop looking externally for validation. It helps them stop feeling insecure about their contributions. It helps them handle questions better because they're like, oh, I don't have to know everything. I don't need this external validation. I don't need to prove anything because I have validated myself. I've taken care of myself. Like as children, yes, children absolutely need to be validated. They need to be loved. They need to be cared for unconditionally because as a parent, it's your job to meet your child's needs.
Yep.
Because they hardly know what they are.
Well, and they can't meet them themselves anyways. They don't have the resources.
They cannot. They can't. Even like young adults, even like teenagers, I'm like, you do not have the reasoning capability online right now to actually process this. So I, as your parent, need to, play emotional hot potato, take all your stuff and then help you navigate it and not just send you to your room to think about it, right? Like it's my job to regulate with you, co-regulate with you. And so if we as adults are not well resourced, we cannot be of service to anyone else. And that's how generational trauma gets passed down, right? People don't do their work. They end up passing it on to their kids, and it's not a healthy cycle. And so it's interesting to me how, like, in my world, I've gone from this expressive piece to this image consulting piece and into these deeper layers. But all of it is predicated on me being like, oh man, okay, I'm a soul having a human experience. How much experience can I get out of this? What else can I learn? What else can I feel? When I get to the debrief at the other side and I sit down with all the souls who came with me, I'm like, oh, that was such a great lesson. Man, you really taught me well on that. Oh, like, how can I have the most glorious, fun-filled, human embodied experience that I can have? And I get to help other people do the same. Mm-hmm. And that's a beautiful part of my work. And then the benefit is they get promoted, or they get exited out of jobs that don't suit them, or they have better relationships, or they have more patience for their kids, all of these pieces. And it's such a great feeling to be like, because I lived and just lived, other people also got to live as well.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Think about, and you brought up the word identity, mm-hmm. and the identities that we go through as we're experiencing this thing called life. What is your different identities taught you, and then what makes somebody's identity, I guess, just sing in the part where they're just excited and happy like you are about life? I mean, because it doesn't start out that way, because our parents start and they create our identity first, and then we have to find ours. And maybe kind of talk about it a little bit for you what that's been like.
Yeah. What was interesting for me is my belief is who you are at 4 is who you are at 104.
Okay.
So the essence of you, the core of who you are, doesn't change. What you came in with is who you are. But what happens is the people around you will tell you things about yourself. Mm-hmm. And those things are either accurate or inaccurate. And when they tell you those things are also based on their own filters. So as a child, when something happens around you, you tend to blame yourself for whatever it is. So I know for me personally, because I am such a big personality, mm-hmm. I got a lot of, shut up, right? You're annoying. Children should be seen and not heard. And my parents never meant to make me feel worthless. They never meant to make me feel small. They never meant to make me feel insecure. They never meant any of that. And in fact, if they knew that was how I felt, they would be horrified. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh yeah, through your interactions with me, this is how I felt. And I always felt like I had to prove something, and I felt unlovable and I felt unloved. And that was really tough. So, and I felt ugly and I felt small. And like I had all this identity stuff wrapped up in man, is this who I am? Like, and yet inside me, there was this sort of I am energy that's like, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's true. I don't think love is supposed to feel like this. Like, I'm pretty sure this is not it. But as a kid, like, how do you know?
Mm-hmm.
They're your parents. They got to be right. So I really had this deeply ingrained identity. And so when I got into, like, of being the nerdy girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I got into the opera, I really wanted to be like the third act diva princess, like, oh, save me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, I'm the sidekick. I'm the comic relief. I'm like Donkey in Shrek, right? I'm the nice. But my inner, and that doesn't mean, and what I made that mean about me was that I was less than somehow.
Okay.
So it's not only what happens to you, but it's also what you make that mean about you. And sometimes it doesn't mean anything about you. So I had this identity of, I'm like, I'm not sure this is the right identity, but this is what I'm living with. And then it was like, okay, I'm just going to look this straight in the face and accept that this is how I am. I'm going to make friends with my container, right? Whatever container you're here in is the perfect container to do whatever it is you're meant to do on the planet. So the sooner you make friends with your container, the easier your life is going to roll. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to make friends. I'm really going to make friends with my container. So, okay, if I'm the sidekick, I'm going to be an awesome sidekick. I'm going to be so funny. I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. And there was still a proving kind of element to it. And yet there was this piece of me that was like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's not all there is for me. And this identity has persisted for many, many years. And then all of a sudden, just recently, I was like, wait a minute. I don't think that what I think about myself is actually what other people think about me. And so I asked, I was like, hey, I'm having this realization and I think maybe I'm like harmfully disruptive to people, and maybe I'm too loud, and maybe I'm too this, too that. But how are you experiencing me out there, these people who have just met me recently? And they gave me a very different picture. And I was like, oh. And the saddest part about it is like, what if I was like that all along? And what if my family actually thought that all along, but I just missed the message somewhere along the way? So I have to go back to them and ask them at some point. But
yeah,
the idea of like, wow, like the development of your identity is such a fragile, it's sort of like simultaneously really fragile and really strong at the same time. Because if you have a really good sense of like your I am energy, this is who I am, no one can shake that. But they can, potentially you can be influenced by what other people say. And so I always think it's very careful that if you are mirroring something for someone, that you try as hard as you can to kind of strip away your own filters. Because I think my parents were very well-meaning. They wanted me to be safe. They wanted me to fit in. They wanted me not to be challenged. They wanted me to have an easy life, right? They wanted me to be a teacher. It's easy, it's guaranteed, it's safe. But their need for safety is way higher than mine. And I've never been that kind of person. But I think that was hard for them. Because if you imagine all of this in a 3-year-old, like that's not an easy thing to parent, I don't think.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You have to be like a particularly emotionally skilled parent. And I mean, let's be honest. How many of our parents actually got any of those skills handed down to them? Like,
and they knew what to do with them when they had them. So
definitely. Oh my gosh, it's super not their fault. And it's not my fault either. But I'm so relieved that through all of this work, I'm like, oh, I can actually slide into this identity of being helpful and being loving and being kind and knowing that that's who I was all along and shake off the stuff that didn't belong to me.
When I think about what an incredible exercise to be asked other people how they perceive you. And my immediate thought was, do I really want to know?
Well, okay. To be fair, you have to be careful about who you ask.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful about who you ask, and you have to be willing to hear the answer.
Yes.
Right? Because there are people.
Absolutely, I want to know. I want to know exactly what you. But then, what if it? Then you start doing the what ifs, and
right?
What if they tell me that I'm really a jerk, and I really.
Yeah, you know what? And so if they do, at least you have data.
Yeah.
I really love the flip. I actually learned this from a parenting creator on TikTok. I love watching gentle parenting videos for this kind of reframing. Anyway, she said she was walking her kids through an exercise where they're all in the what ifs, and she's like, okay, so but even if that happens, what will you do? Because of course that helps kids access their frontal cortex, their thinking brain, right? They're in the solution and not in the stuckness of what if. So I've been using that on myself and my clients as well. And so I think about, well, okay, so if I chose to ask, it's like, hey, I'm not sure that I'm clear on how I'm coming across here. What do you see? And if someone said something really negative to me, I'd be like, okay, so even if they're going to say something negative to me, I can figure it out. I can regulate my nervous system. I can make amends if there was something that I did that was really not working for that person. Or I can say to that person, okay, I'm showing up as this and you're reacting this way, but I don't think that your reaction actually has anything to do with what I'm doing here. Like, I think that might be yours. That might be a you problem, right?
Yes, and then
Sometimes
you can
it is.
that off and walk away feeling really
Right.
really good about it because you have to.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it's like I am responsible for my actions. I will 100% take accountability for my actions, but I cannot guarantee that no one is ever going to be triggered by me. I cannot guarantee that everyone's going to feel safe around me because some people will not. My mere existence is so edgy that it will challenge people. And that's like, okay, that's okay. You don't have to be around me. You can go someplace else, right?
Are you a mom as well, or are you just?
No, I'm not. I'm not, but I do have some really lovely kids in my life, like my friends' kids that I really enjoy. And I watch my friend's mom, and I also work a lot with internal family systems practices with my clients. So that's like a reparenting.
Yeah,
you know?
well, that's what, because I'm kind of getting that, and I was like, because I'm thinking, well, I'm not a mom, but I'm a mom on TV, or
Right? I'm pulling on TV.
Oh my gosh!
I'm copy pasting that immediately. Not a mom, but I play one on TV. No, I don't. I don't.
I love that.
Yes.
What do you love to control? Like, what in
Ooh.
your space, in your world, what is it you love?
I love to control. Okay. I love to control my environment.
Okay.
Because I do really well in a beautiful environment. Like I do really well with expressive things. I do really well with personalized things. I'm learning through the good graces of my husband to be less concerned about mess. And to be able to, like, it used to be that I couldn't relax unless things were like tidy. I could not relax.
Okay.
Because the external order helped me order things in my mind. So when and I would have my own mess for sure. Like if it's my own mess, I can tidy it up and then that helps me. But if it was somebody else's mess and I couldn't control that, that used to freak me out so bad. And now I'm like, okay, that's somebody else's problem. Like that's not in my space. I can make a request. Like I could say to my husband, look, could you, hide those things? Right? If there's like a pile of laundry, can you
just don't let me know where you hide it?
Don't let me know. It's just like put it someplace where I can't see it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine. Right. But I'm learning. So I really like to control my environment. But I'm also okay if it, like, life happens, right? It's going to get messy. What else do I love to control? I love to control my schedule. Okay. I'm a big fan of like hard time boundaries. Like, what am I doing when? How much time am I spending at work? How much time am I spending on my morning rituals, my eating rituals? Like, controlling my time is really important to me. Because then the structure gives me freedom in the time, right? If I have that much structure, then I can be generous with my time when I'm with people, which is lovely. What else do I love to control? Yeah, I really like being in charge of my life.
Okay.
I think I heard something from one of my coaches the other day. She said, if you're in avoidance, she was specifically talking about financial, because she coaches on money. This is one of the things I'm learning more about. But anyway, she said, if you're in avoidance, financial avoidance specifically, she goes, then you are acting like a child. There is some part of you that wants to be a child, wants someone else to look after it, wants to be taken care of. And that's okay. Like, I think there are many, many grown-ups running around that really are just kids. Just, right? There's still those parts of us that want to be cared for if we didn't get everything we needed when we were growing up. And what I loved about that was it wasn't shaming. It's like, there's nothing wrong with you if this is happening. It's just that if you're avoiding something somewhere, if you're avoiding looking for your purpose, if you're avoiding looking at your bank account, if you're avoiding looking at your marriage, if you're avoiding looking at your kids, if you're avoiding looking at anything, there's some part of you that is acting like a child that doesn't want to face it. And so it's really important to honor that part of you that's like, okay, sweetie, like I see that you don't want to do that. It's okay. And then you got to bring your sort of wise higher self online, your loving parent online, and go, wait a second. Like, okay, you know what, sweetie, you don't have to handle that. I'm the adult and I will handle it. I want to have a good relationship in all these areas. I want to have great work. I want my money to be easy. I want my house to be tidy. I want my laundry to be done. Right. And I, as the adult, can handle that. And I hear you. I hear you, little, child part of me that wants to eat candy and sit on the couch. I totally hear that. And the more that you reparent those parts of yourselves, the less demanding they become. And then they're not driving the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're not driving the bus. And then you can set loving limits for yourself and others. Right? And I like the idea of loving limits.
Loving limits.
I love you, and I'm going to make you a little container to hang out in.
Well, and it's important to set limits for ourselves.
Right?
Totally. And so many of us don't.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I get to have this weekend and do. No, you don't get to.
I know. And yet it's still important to acknowledge, like, so for me, loving freedom, there is one of the most valued parts of my schedule is if I set a day where I have no responsibility and I just commit. I'm like, I'm not going to do any house tasks. I'm setting aside this entire day to just be free, just follow my impulses, do art if I want to, nap if I want to, like, and I'm so lucky to be able to do that, like to be able to have a free day. But even just honoring that in the smallest, tiniest way is so good for your soul. Like if you're resistant to something and you're like, I just want to run away, let yourself run away. Just say, I'm going to let myself run away for like an hour. I'm going to let myself run away and then I'll come back. Or I'm going to let myself run away for an afternoon, but tomorrow I'm going to come back and look at this again. And for an artistic sort of free spirit like me, that's been a great technique.
That's amazing and to be able to actually do it. Because I know so many people, I'm going to have a free day, and then you see them over there working.
That's right. And if you love your work, that's fine. There are definitely times where I will work on a weekend because I love my work a lot. Yeah. And it's like, I don't want to do this work right now on this Friday block that I've set aside. So I'm going to take this Friday block off, but I'm going to put those 3 hours someplace else in my weekend. Yeah. And then I just do. And it's really, so there's some level of control over that as well. Yeah. These are fun questions. I'm enjoying it.
Hey, given your propensity, I guess, for the structure and the control and all this, now you start working with somebody who is in constant chaos. That is just how do you take your personality and work with them? Because some of it's got to just be, how are you doing this?
No, actually, it's completely the opposite. Okay. When I see someone in total chaos, and often the chaos is hidden. Mm-hmm. Like if you met that person on the street, you would never know. Mm-hmm. That their life is chaotic, that it's a mess behind the scenes. Yeah. Whenever I run into that, I'm like, oh, I have so much compassion for the overwhelm that comes from how did I get myself into this? And so much compassion for the shame of how did I get myself into this? And I love, love, love being able to hold space for those people and to be able to say, okay, it's okay. It's okay. You got here one step at a time, and you will get out one step at a time. So if you go inside your body and you're like, what is the smallest doable step? Where in your life is there a little yes right now? So for example, it's interesting. Sometimes my work is professional, but it also goes personal. Sometimes I get, because how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So my approach is very holistic. So sometimes I'll be coaching someone on their executive presence, like they want to get a VP role, but then all of a sudden something happens and we need to go into their life. So when I've gotten into that, it's like, I rely on the next right thing. What's just the next right thing? You don't have to see the end, but you got to see the next right thing. And so recently I was working with someone on an exercise where it's like, well, you have an idea of what you want your dream to look like. So what is it? And so we just listed it out. It's like, well, I want my house to look like this, and I want my marriage to look like this, and I want my work to look like this. I'm like, great. So you have the vision. And now looking at everything that's happening, what is the one small, tiny thing. Like you're going to build this great thing. And if you knew what the first brick was, what would you do? And the person was like, well, I would lay that brick. And I'm like, great.
Let's do it.
Lay the brick.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's all you got to do. Lay the brick. And so it's something like, there's a really great resource. So if anyone's listening who's in super overwhelm, I really enjoy Casey Davis, How to Keep House While You're Drowning. And she's very compassionate in her approach as well. And she's very fierce about the moral neutrality of house chaos, right? Just as one example. And so one of the strategies to like deal with, let's say clutter, for example, just do trash. That's all you, like for the first thing, it's like, so do one drawer, and in that one drawer, just throw out the trash, and then go to the next drawer and just throw out the trash, and go to the next drawer and just throw out the trash. And then once you're done your 10 minutes a day of throwing out trash, one step at a time, you'll have that. And then that creates momentum. Then you start thinking about, okay, now I'm just going to go through, and anything that is in this drawer that shouldn't be in this drawer, it should be someplace else, I'm just going to stick it in this bin. Not even going to think about where it's going to go yet. I'm just going to take it out of this place so that it doesn't belong here. And I'm only going to leave things that belong in that drawer there. And then you do that. And then eventually you're like, okay, now I can decide, okay, everything needs to find a place. Now, this one thing, where do I want these things to live? And then do that. So it's like, it's very, very one step at a time. Very one step at a time. So even if it's like an image thing or a clothing thing, oh my God, I have so many clothes and I have nothing to wear. It's like, okay, well, what's the first thing? The first thing is, what do you have? Like, just map it all out. And then again, in your closet, it's like, what's all the things you haven't worn? What's the what's the donate? Like, what's the stuff you're just not going to keep? And then we talk about all the emotional, like there's a ton of emotional stuff around that too, but it's like removing the shame, I think, is the biggest part, and removing the overwhelm by just like your body is always going to know what the next right thing is.
That's some really, really, really good advice. And just, like you said, one step at a time is how you got into it one step at a time. You don't think you did, but getting out of it is going to be the same way.
One step at a time. It's the only way.
Yeah. You brought up coaching a couple of times. Yeah. And I so much believe in the power of coaching, and that you were able to take advantage of coaches in your life that have helped you. Maybe just kind of talk a little bit about how that has helped you by having somebody look from the outside and the importance of it, for the folks that are listening going, well, I don't really know if I need a coach.
Do I need a coach? Right. From my perspective, all coaching is an accelerant.
Okay.
So could you figure it out by yourself? Yeah, probably. It'll take you a lot longer. A lot longer to do by yourself. Because when a coach comes to work with you, they have a wealth of expertise and experience that they can share with you to help you solve the problem. Like, for example, the problems that I solve for people, they're problems that I went through. Right? Yeah. I can help you solve those things. So it's like, oh my God, I gained 50 pounds and now I don't know what to wear. It's like, well, I've been there, right? I wanted this job and I couldn't figure out how to get it. My resume was terrible and my LinkedIn was terrible and nobody was hiring me. I've been there, right? So I think a coach is really great for helping you get a different perspective on something. So thinking of things differently, helping you access your own internal resources, reminding you about who you are, helping you remember who you are, and really good at providing helping you kind of sort out your own thinking. And then there's the consulting side of it for me, which is providing expertise. Yeah. So that's like, if I'm looking at your you want a suit. Okay. I can give you expertise on what kind of suit to buy. That's going to be great. People still are wearing suits, although not as much anymore. You know what I mean, right? You're like looking for, what do I wear now? That's something I can help you with. But it's this idea of, with coaching, it helps you. Yeah, it just helps you see the possibilities for yourself that you maybe were not able to see. And it helps get you. Yeah, it helps you see your blind spots, helps you get out of situations that you might be in. And coaching can be totally helpful. And coaching can also be like, if it's not the right fit, it sometimes does not go well. So I would say, if anybody's thinking, if they're thinking, to answer the question, do I need a coach? You need a coach if you cannot see your way out of a problem. You need a sounding board. If you are not getting the results that you want in your life, not getting the job you want, not getting the dates you want, not getting the wealth you want, not getting the job you want, right? If you're not getting the results you want and you've tried everything and nothing has worked, then you probably need a coach. And if you feel confused, I mean, I know sometimes confusion is just an excuse, like you're using confusion when you actually really know the answer, but you don't really want to do the thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm confused. No, you're not. You just don't want to do the thing, right? Yeah. It's not that. If you're really confused about the next stage in life, those kinds of things, then yeah, if you're asking those questions and you've tried everything yourself and nothing is working, then that's when it's a good time to get a coach. So my very first coach, like first I got a counselor because there was some serious stuff I was dealing with from my past, and she was great. But it took me 5 counselors to find her. It was like dating,
Gotcha. So
right?
you didn't give up. Yeah.
I didn't give up. I knew I needed help. I didn't give up. Then my first coach, I didn't know anything about sales. So I was like, okay, I need a sales coach. So he was teaching me about that. And then there were other benefits along the way. And then I've had business coaches over the years because when I started, I never run a business. So I needed business coaching. And now for me, it's like expansion coaching. So the coaches I work with now, like basically everything I wanted 10 years ago, I have, which is amazing. Like I'm 6-figure coach. I've published 3 books. I've won awards. I've done, lots of world traveling. I got a great marriage, got great friends, like there's lots of things that are really great right now. And everything I wanted 10 years ago, I have. But now I'm like, well, now what? Like now what's possible? So now the coaches I'm working with are coaches that are like, okay, you've achieved this level of success. And what's possible? Like, what's the next, like, knock it out of the park? So they're much more expanders for me now. And it's not that my previous coaches weren't, but this is like really expansive. So I'm really enjoying the big, like I always thought I was a big thinker, but now I'm like, oh my God, that's even bigger. There's a whole world out there that I didn't even know existed. And I love that. It's always expansive.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you said that it's an accelerant, which is huge. And then that you have different coaches for different things. Because I think some people think I'm just going to grab this one person and no, because your life is, so complex, and you think that one person can just go solve all those things. What about the accountability side of it? Has that been helpful too? Have you had coaches that are help keep you accountable, or are you able to just you say you're going to do it and you just do it?
Well, there's 2 sides of that. My very first sort of serious business coach that I worked with, she helped me realize it was one of my coaches, his firm, and then I worked with one of the coaches under him. And basically the message was, you can do everything you want, you just can't do everything right now. Ooh. Because the problem that I had is I wanted to do it all. And so I would start something and not finish it, and start it and not finish it, and start it and not finish it, because I would feel bored if I was just on a singular track. And so they were super helpful with teaching me how to control my squirrel brain, right? Oh, shiny object, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so that was one aspect. And what else can I tell you about that with the accountability? She was so gently accountable. She was the one that taught me about, if you want to run away, just run away for a little while and come back. Okay. She definitely held me accountable because I had to show up every week and show that I was making progress. And so she was really great with that. And then I have a pretty high degree of self-accountability. Okay. And I think I had that always, but it was helpful to have some outside. If there's someone that is witnessing what you're doing, you're more likely to do it. Yes. So that has definitely been helpful to have somebody like, okay. And so particularly like in this stage of my life where I'm going for a big leap now, it's like, okay, so if I have other people watching me do this, like they're holding me, they're showing up for me. So I need to show up for them too. That means I need to confront every fear I've ever had. I need to rejig my identity, sweep out the stuff that's not working. I got to get my systems in order. Like, it's really like in this moment, it's like, okay, I got to put on my big girl pants and get going because I want to make a bigger impact in the world because I know I can. Right.
And I believe you will.
Yes.
Just it's been such a. What I've been selfish because I've been asking all the questions I want to know to help me. But what do you want to tell as we wind down? And you want to tell everybody else? I mean, all your books and how to get a hold of you and all that kind of stuff. But
Sure.
how do you want to leave us today as you're thinking of our final thoughts?
Yeah. So I'm easy to find. So my
Okay.
name, Katherine Lazaruk, I'm searchable. And my main platforms are LinkedIn and Instagram.
Right.
And I do have Lazaruk Consulting on Facebook, but you can find me through those other ones. My website is lzrkconsulting.com, but probably the best place to find me is Instagram. And literally, if you find me on Instagram and you message me, I will message you back.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely. Like I'm going to be like, hey, yeah, sure. If you message me on LinkedIn, I will message you back. Okay. If you contact me and try to sell me something right off the hop and I don't know you, then I will not.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't do that. But if you genuinely have a question, if you want to follow, you're like inspired by something, you want to start a dialogue, 100%. I am there for it, there for you. That's the easiest place to find me. If you want to pick up my book, it's available on all the major platforms. It's called Executive Being, Humanizing Business One Leader at a Time. I do not recommend you read it front to back. I recommend you just open it at random and be like, look, I have a copy right here. I'll show you. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
And I recommend you just open it at random and be like, what's my thought for today? Okay, there's a poem there. All right, I'm going to read that poem. Or like, here's some stats on why we need to humanize business. Or like,
I love it.
here's 2 cents, right?
Yeah.
Like trying to change your patterns, right? It's going to feel tough because you haven't done it before, right? So just do that. Like have some fun. Doodle. There's lots of white space in it.
Okay.
Write notes. Like have fun with it. Treat it like an art project, like a, choose your own adventure kind of thing is what I recommend. So I'm easy to find there. And if you want to find me, Instagram's a great place to do it.
Instagram's the best place. All right. Yeah. Any closing thoughts that you have that you want to make sure that everybody who watches today, I'm just saying, this is for me. I'm not like, I'm writing on like, obviously not very yet. I'm going to do some papers on it. I'm writing on envelopes and just taking notes because this is, I'm going to go back and watch it because I forget, right? I'm recording this, not that I can't go back and watch the whole thing and then take proper notes, which I will do. But I just get so excited about just our conversation today. And so is there anything that you would love for everybody else to know?
Well, I really love the idea of living boldly with purpose. Okay. But I think for your listeners that are thinking, how do I live boldly? And a bold choice for you might not be the same thing as a bold choice for me. But I want you to think about just making, like, even if you don't feel like you can make the bold choice right now, like watch out for all or nothing thinking. Mm-hmm. Just think about what is the smallest doable yes? What is the next right step? What is the tiniest bit of momentum I could get towards living boldly, right? What does bold look like? And if bold is like, feels far away, then just think about, okay, well, I don't have to go there today, but I could do like this little tiny step today. I could do this tiny step today, right? Because I didn't get here by suddenly deciding, I want to be a 6-figure coach, award-winning image consultant. No, I started out by going, I hate my job. Mm-hmm. Like, what qualities do I want my work to have? That was where I started, right? What qualities do I want my work to have? And I want freedom, beauty, joy, generosity, ease of spirit. That's my 5. So for anyone who's listening, if you're thinking about making a bold choice or living boldly, I want you to really think about what that means for you. And then I want you to think about what's the next right thing? What's the next tiny little step I could take to start this unfolding into a life led boldly with purpose? And then just do it. And love yourself all the way through.
I love that because nowhere in there did you say go ask a whole bunch of other people what my living boldly should be.
Go within to go without. That's how it works. Got to go within.
Yeah. And you see people doing that, right? So I want to live boldly. What does that look like for me?
Yeah.
No, you don't get it. You got to ask yourself that, and then taking that first small step. Mm-hmm. Because I think we feel like we got to do everything right now and get it done, and then we fail at that because we can't.
You can't do that.
And then we just stop trying. So,
Right.
oh my God, Catherine, this has been so amazing. Thank you for being on today. Thank you for visiting us
So
on the show. If you're writing other stuff or doing other stuff, please let us know. Maybe we can even have you back on and maybe just do something specifically on imaging, and maybe we'll find something on imaging that would help somebody in whatever they're trying to do. That would be, go get the book. I'm going to go get the book. And I'm gonna read it just like she told me to. I'm going to just open it up and I'm going to pick some stuff, because if the person who wrote it is telling you to do that, that means it's probably pretty important to do it. Oh my gosh! And again, for those of you that think this was a great show and you know somebody who could benefit from it, please share it with them. Don't be scared to say, well, what if they don't like what the worst thing they can do is just not listen to it. But at least say, I heard this thing today. It's really good. If you want to continue to see other content like this as we continue to create it, just go ahead and hit subscribe, notification button, thumbs up, whatever the YouTube stuff is that we do. Don't forget, I believe you're God's greatest gift, and He loves you if you allow Him to. And we will look forward to talking to you the next time. Thank you again, Kathy.